thank you parents for being here, and thank you for your patience. We know that this is, oh, here I am. We know that this is a very challenging time, and this is the first time we've ever done a large Zoom meeting with all of our parents. And so thank you for your patience. I want to introduce to you why we're here and what we're doing. My name is Gabriella Maffei. I'm the superintendent. And next time, we've taken all your great advice and we're going to put some things into place, have people who need translation come a little early so we can get started right away. But we're here today because we want to share with you things that we're going to be doing in distance learning. And the things we're going to be sharing with you are based on your direct feedback that you gave us. Remember that Scantron that you got back in June, where we asked you a lot of questions, we gave you a pencil, we gave you a return envelope, and you sent it back. And what we heard from you as parents, overwhelmingly, 32,000 surveys received back, that you wanted to have structure for distance learning. You wanted to know the exact applications that were being used, when your children were going to be online. So what you've received since then has been information on the guidelines from the district level. This will be videotaped, and we're going to be offering more and more sessions for you. So don't worry if you can't stay for the whole one today. We're going to be talking more in the future. You're also going to be receiving soon some information on an application that you're going to be able to use with your children from preschool all the way to high school, that if they need additional help, they'll have some interactive help with them in their subject areas. They will be able to go online, and you'll be able to go online to get extra help and support in addition to the time that they're going to have with their teacher in direct instruction. In TK through 6, they're going to have direct instruction daily with their teacher, as well as some breaks in between, because we know students, especially our younger students, can't sit and look at a screen all day. And then for our secondary students, they're going to have a block schedule. So parents, we welcome you here today. We know this is a challenging time. As you know, our district is not able to open for in-person classes yet, but at some point we'll be able to. Because we just have a short session today, we're not going to be able to entertain questions. They're going to go through it pretty quickly, and then the questions can be asked and they will be sent out to all parents with answers. So welcome GGUSD parents. We're so glad you're here, and we're going to start the presentation.
So I'd like to start by just mentioning, I'm not sure, Teresa, would you like to take this or would you like me to continue? I'd like to start by talking about the districts and the way our goals in our district and what makes Garden Grove so unique is because we put our students first. And when we look at the way that Garden Grove focuses on our students, we have 3 goals in mind. Our goal 1 is to make sure that our students have those academic skills. We focus on rigorous learning, and we focus on different ways to help our students meet the needs of those academic skills. Our second goal is working on those personal skills, helping them with emotional well-being, helping them with motivation, and then when we combine those all together, we work on getting lifelong success for our students in goal 3 to get them to be successful learners in a global economy for the 21st century. So we really look for these 3 goals as we are working and centering our work around our students. Today, we're going to be talking about the tools that your students will be using when they go into the digital classroom. When we start, our schools have worked really hard to start with our lessons and be prepared for the way that our students will be able to interact with the content. We'll be using a few tools district-wide for video conferencing and to be able to see the teacher and have that relationship with the teacher and meet with the teacher for school. We are going to be using either Zoom or Google Meet. And then for the virtual classroom, where students will be meeting with the teacher to do assignments, students will go in and turn in assignments and teachers will assign things. We'll be using Seesaw or Google Classroom. And then of course, we will always have access to the textbooks, the course textbooks for your students. And those course textbooks can be available online, purely digital, or that you can have a hard copy of the digital textbook as well. As you can see here, there's a couple of examples of some of the digital assignments that our students have already done. In March, they were able to get started and transition into an online environment. So in second grade, you can see they're still working on their assignments with their shapes, and they were able to annotate in a program called Seesaw. In older students, we use Google Classroom, and teachers can send out their Google Classroom assignments through an online format. And students have all the resources they need when they go into Google Classroom. They just check that place every day. So let's start talking in more detail about the individual tools. When a student meets with the teacher, the student will be using one of two platforms. Zoom is the first one. Zoom is the one that you guys have been using a lot. And the teacher will send out a link to Zoom whenever they have meetings with their students. And when you log on to Zoom, you're just going to click the link that was sent out. Sometimes teachers will send out the link in Parent Square. Sometimes they'll send out the link in Seesaw. Sometimes they'll send out the link in Google Classroom. But wherever they send out the link, they'll send it so that the students can click on it. And when they come in, they'll be able to see a menu like this. This is the student interface for Zoom. When you're in Zoom, you can come in and students can chat with the teacher. They can chat, they can see the participant menu where they can raise their hand. They can say yes or no if the teacher asks a question. If the student would like to mute their microphone, they can mute their microphone at the bottom. If the student would like to turn off their camera, they can turn off their camera at the bottom as well. Easy interface, the teacher will go over these tools on the first day of school as well as other days, but this is so that you can see what the students will be seeing and the tools that they'll be using when they're in Zoom. The other tool that they could be using for meeting with the teacher is Google Hangouts Meet. This is a tool that you will find in a lot of the high school or upper grade classrooms. Students will need to use their Google login, their district Google login for this particular tool. And the teacher will share the link just like they did with Zoom in Google Classroom. They may share it in Parent Square. They may share it in Seesaw. Wherever they share it, the student just has to click on it and they can log in with the information the teacher sent to them. Then when they log into Google Meet, they'll be able to see this screen. This screen is a little bit similar to Zoom. And in this screen, they can have the same features, but it's more focused on the teacher presenter. So in this screen, the students can turn off their microphone or turn off their video down at the bottom with the red buttons. They can also, on the right-hand side, chat with their teacher and their classmates if they click on that tab. Google Meets is a much easier, simpler platform, but there's less controls and less tools to use. Whenever we have community events, back to school nights, parent meetings, and so forth, these events will be on Zoom. And as you can tell from coming today, you saw the link to go on to this Zoom webinar. When you click on the link, it will take you to the webinar. Most of our district meetings will be in a meeting event, which will be smaller in size and will have more of the tools that you're used to. A webinar is so that we can work with people with a larger group of people. Today we have over 2,000 people in the room, so we're using the webinar tool in order to allow you all access to this particular presentation. Another tool that you'll be using is Seesaw, and I'm going to let Margaret talk about Seesaw.
Thank you. So what is Seesaw? Many of you might have questions, or you might have heard from the school sites or your teachers. So Seesaw is a digital portfolio that is unique for your child, and what students will be able to do, or your children will be able to create. They'll be able to capture their learning, and they will be able to share with their teacher as well as you how they are learning and taking that process in. So as you can see on the screen, that's a sample class of one of the teacher's classes. On the left-hand side is a feed of the student work that you will see in red. And then over to the right is your child's name of their portfolio that they can get them started. So that's a sample class of what it looks like. Seesaw is available on the iPad as well as Chromebooks. as well as mobile devices that you might have. So if you have an iOS, such as an iPhone, or an Android device, you can also stay connected. This is a popular platform for our TK, more so like our preschool up to 2nd grade. So Seesaw is highly sought for in that, in order to stay connected. And then in our next slide, here are some of the basic features that your child will be using. So while they're using Seesaw, students are going to either go on the class app, which is available on the iPad, or if they are on a computer, they will just type in app.seesaw.me. And then when they are in their classroom, they're going to go ahead and click or tap on the green plus sign. They have 6 different options that they can select from. They can take a picture, they can draw on a canvas, they can record a video, they can upload any files that they've been currently working on, they can practice writing a text note, and last but not least, they can insert a web link to show their learning. So those are some of the different items that students can post their student work in their journal, and those are some of the features that are available. And then in the next slide, Seesaw has a great way of bringing that creativity. And so they have this creative tools for students. And once they go in and submit their item, they have a couple of different options and features. As you can see on the right-hand side, there is a color bar so they can create with colors. And on the bottom, you will see some different tools where they can annotate and draw. They can utilize the pen, the marker, the highlight, especially the eraser. And then on the left-hand side, students can use the text code or the text option to type out their words or letters, numbers, and things like that. They can also upload or bring in an audio file if they want to record themselves. They can also add shapes and backgrounds, and so different ways to customize and personalize their learning. And then the next slide. Here, students will also not only be able to explore the basic features, there will be activities posted by his or her teacher. To get there, they will select the Activities tab as you see in the screen in front of you. They will be notified by the number of activities that are waiting for them to be completed. When students are ready, they will add a response, they will finish their draft, or they will view the completed response for his or her teacher to look. So that's where you can find the activities on that class page. And then last but not least, the next slide. Now for parents and families who are here today, we have, since we're moving forward with distance learning, there is a home learning code that your teacher has shared with you. So with this home learning code, it is either a 16-letter code, or you can scan by using that QR code that you see on the right. With that information, you can go on a computer and you can type that website, app.seesaw.me, or if you currently have an iPad or a mobile phone, you can tap on the Seesaw class app. From there, you'll be able to see your child's journal. You'll be able to respond to their activities with a like or comment, with a simple heart or a simple speech bubble to let them know how they are doing. So that's one way where you can stay connected. It's a great way to bring that home to school connection.
And another tool that you'll see in our older students is Google Classroom. This will serve as the hub or the main place that the students will visit when they're looking for their work from their teacher. And Lampa, would you like to start?
Thank you. Google Classroom is an application that will allow students to access their assignments and materials. Teachers grades 3 and above may use Google Classroom to communicate with students and assign assignments, with the ability to collaborate with their fellow classmates as well. Students may submit assignments through Google Classroom, and receive feedback and grades from their teachers. Google Classroom can be accessed from the web at classroom.google.com and also through the mobile app using their iPad or cell phone. Students will log in to Google Classroom using their Garden Grove Unified School District email address. When students enter into Google Classroom, they will see the square pictured on the left side with their class name. In their class, they can view their upcoming assignments and completed assignments, missing work as well. Using Google Classroom, in the center, you will see students can submit files such as Google Documents, which is used to create documents for writing, and Google Slides, which is used to create presentations, as we're using today. After completing their assignment, you will see the image on the right side. Students are able to click the Turn In button to submit their assignments. Let's take a look at our next slide. Teachers have the ability to invite guardians to receive an automatic email summary for daily or weekly assignments. The invitation appears in the guardian's email. Pictured on the left, you will see an example of the email. Once you accept the email, you can choose between receiving weekly, daily, or no summaries. Guardians won't be able to enter the application the same way as students. Guardians will receive an email report. Examples of those emails are shown on the right side. On the right side, guardians will see announcements, assignments, and missing assignments. The Guardian feature is an option for teachers. You will learn more from your teacher on how they will use Google Classroom with your child. Thank you.
The last tool that our students will be using is ClassLink. ClassLink is the place for our students to access their digital textbooks, and Corey is going to talk about that.
Good morning. So ClassLink is what we call a single sign-on app. And what that allows our students to do is access their textbooks from one central area. You can almost think of it like as an online backpack. All their books are stored within here. All they do is they go into ClassLink and they can find that book that they need to access. So a really quick and easy way for them to get in, get their textbooks, and finish any of the assignments through the textbooks. Go ahead. And so signing in is easy. Whether you have a Chromebook, you're on a Mac, a PC, or even an iPad or an Android tablet as well. On Chromebooks and Mac and PC, they will go to the website, which is listed at the top, portal.ggusd.us. Now, login is going to be their GGUSD username. Most students know this. If they're younger students, they can get that from their teacher, and I'm sure their teacher will share that with them, as well as their password. One important note about logging in, students have an email address which ends with @ggusd.net. When they log into ClassLink, they're only going to put the beginning in. For me, it would be C. Matthias. I wouldn't need anything else at the end after that. Do not include the @ggusd.net. Once they've logged in, they'll see all the publishers that they need for their textbooks. So they'll see it, they'll click on it, and clicking on it will take them to their appropriate textbook. The one thing you will need to do if you are logging in through a computer is there is an extension that needs to be added, and that's shown at the bottom. So when ClassLink says, hey, you need to add this extension, make sure you add it or it won't function properly. So really quick, easy, they click in, they find their textbook, and it's there. It also does work on mobile devices. So you would have to download the app from either the App Store or the Play Store first. And then the first time you use it, you will need to go ahead and find GG or Garden Grove in the search. So you'll need to find the district the first time you use it. After that, you'll be able to log in the exact same way you would on a computer, and with that username and password, and then you will see access to the publisher's websites from there. So it's really quick, easy way to find all our students' content in one central area for their textbooks.
So if you're looking to get help, which when we all start, we're all going to start slowly and all together, and then the students will be invited to their first meeting, whether that meeting be Google Meet or Zoom, and then the teachers will be their first line of contact and the school staff. If a student has a device, a Chromebook or an iPad from the school, those devices will come preloaded with the materials and applications that they're going to need. If they are not, the student can contact the teacher and the teacher can help to get them to their devices. If there is more information needed or more help, there's also a website that has all of the parent resources here. If you go to ggusd.us, you can see there is a parent tab there with all of the resources that we have available to our parents. Additional help for technology support is if you can send an email to @homehelpdesk@ggus.us, and that will send an email to our technology support, and they can help you troubleshoot the problems that your student is having. So at this point, we're going to address some of the questions, some of the more common questions in the question area. And I'm seeing, I hope we answered some of the questions that were coming up as we were moving through, but I am seeing one of the questions was that if all students will be receiving a device, and you will have to contact your school on the device that your students can get, and then they'll be able to help out with making sure that you have all the applications and everything you need for that device. Are there any questions that the panelists were able to see that kept coming up over and over again that you would like me to start with? Does any questions, panelists?
Question, does Zoom or Google Meet work on a computer? What devices do those platforms work on?
So Google Meet and Zoom both work on Chromebooks for student purposes. You're both able to access them both. For the iPad, you'll need an app for both Zoom and Google Meet. And then those are the two devices that our students will be using. So both applications will be able to use both platforms.
I've seen some questions pop up similar to how do I know what my students' assignments are with that. And my best recommendation for that is to have your students share with you their password, have them log in, show you the work that is coming in. Google will send daily announcements if the teachers sign up for that, sign the parents up for that. But I would always recommend know what your students are doing, have them log in, show you the assignments within any of the platforms, whether it's Google Classroom or Seesaw. You can see what assignments the students need to do that they are working on and they have done as well. So definitely feel free to get in there with your student, go over the assignments, and you can see how they are doing in there.
Thank you, Corey. One other question that I'm seeing a lot, and I think this is from our multitude of students who are excited to start, is where do we get the information to log in? How do we know when to log in? You will be contacted by your teacher if your teacher has not already contacted you. I definitely recommend you make sure your Parent Square account is ready to go and you're able to log in and receive messages and emails through them. But you will be contacted by your teacher to give you information on when you need to log in, how you need to log in. The teacher will be providing directions and steps on how to do that. So the teacher, each classroom has their unique setup with all Chromebooks or all iPads, and they'll be able to send out instructions according to the regulations in their classroom. Any other questions coming up in the chat that would like to answer? One
I
big
see
question.
another,
Oh, go ahead.
oh, I see another question. Are parents allowed to visit Zoom lessons? Oh, of course. And if your child is having difficulties logging into a Zoom meeting, please help them out. There is a link that will be shared with your teacher. So go ahead and feel free to, hop in and see what their learning is like too.
One other question that was asked, oh, and I just lost. Logins. How do you get your login to log in? So the one login you do need to know is your student's email address, the GGUSD email address. And if you have a younger student where that email address hasn't been used before, then your teacher will send that information to you. Normally in a regular school setting, the teacher has those informations on cards, but they will have that information for the students, and they'll send that with the instructions on how and when to log into class. This presentation is being recorded, and you can access it later after we've had a chance to make it available. So, and the presentation slides will also be available as well, so that you can take a look at each individual slide later at your pace. Any other questions?
I'll make one last note. Make sure you know your Parent Square login. Parent Square is going to be one of the main communication tools that the school is going to use in order to communicate with parents. If you're not sure what that looks like, be sure to contact your student's school site, and they should be able to help you out with that. But that is going to be where a lot of the information will be coming to parents with that. Being a parent with students in the district, I have seen a lot of information come in, letting me know exactly everything I need to know for this upcoming year. So make sure Parent Square is ready, set up, and you are getting messages through that.
Questions about TK, kinder, and preschool. Each school is prepared to help the students of their grade level. And I know that the TK and kinder teachers have been working really hard to get their materials ready and their resources ready for our kinder and TK parents, because we know that they are young and they're new to technology. And so each school is prepared to meet the needs of their particular student. The preschool setting as well, they are going to be, we've seen the preschool teachers getting ready, we've seen them getting their materials ready and getting ready to meet their students. So each school is prepared to help the student at their grade level and at their ability level, and they're able to access their materials there. I have a few other questions. One question is that one person said that they're hearing Zoom and Google. They're using Zoom and Google Meet, and your teacher will decide which platform to use. Your teacher will decide whether or not to use Zoom, and then that way you can be consistent. And then whatever platform they decide, it will be the same platform for the rest of the time, so that you can make sure that you have some consistency. Lots of resources will be coming out for our community, for both students and parents, in regards to tutorial videos on how to access the materials, as well as one-page documents that teachers can go up and down and follow the directions on a piece of paper if that's what they want. So many resources are going to be available soon. We are uploading them to the resources site as quickly as we can, so that we can get those resources out for you. Another question, will GGUSD apps work on iOS devices, such as an iPad or a MacBook? Yes, all of the applications that our district uses is available and able to work on an iPad, a Chromebook, and any other laptop or desktop computer. So those will all be applicable to those. So I think I'm reading that there's 147 questions that I'm reading through. So there's a lot of questions here, but if the panelists see one that keeps coming up in the chat, please let us know and I can answer them.
I have some questions that pertaining to Google Classroom that I shared. Okay. So earlier I shared about the Google Classroom. So students can log into their Google Classroom through the web or through their mobile device. Parents will not see the same interface that their child sees. So parents can work along with their child and sit next to them when they log in. If the teacher chooses to use the Guardian feature, the Guardian feature is solely only an email. So it's an email report when the teachers are posting assignments or announcements. The parent will receive those emails to share about the postings and assignments or missing work. And the parents will choose in the email whether they want to receive those daily or weekly, or maybe stop receiving the summaries.
Thank you. One other question that came up is that do I need to be there with my student as they are on Zoom in the Zoom class? Parents and the community are always welcome to attend our classes with our students. It is wonderful to see that involvement, but we all know that we are all working and we all have our roles. So if you're not able to attend, the teacher can help manage the student and their attendance in class, but we just ask that you help with keeping the student attending the Zoom sessions and attending our virtual schools. But the parents don't have to be there, although we do welcome you. Any other questions coming through?
I do see a lot of questions that we unfortunately don't have the answers to, that you can definitely contact your school site for it. If you didn't get a certain thing that you were expecting, you don't have certain information, definitely contact the school site. They're going to be the ones best suited to give you that information.
And if they have any questions or concerns, this previous slide had an email that was listed. So feel free to contact @homehelpdesk@ggusd.us.
Yes, so I think we're going to go ahead and stop it there. We're going to try to access all the questions as quickly as we can for the next 5 minutes. But after that, if your question isn't answered, please contact the school site, and we will continue to work on our resources as we provide them. We'll get this up and available to you as well. So another question that we had is to get an ID meeting to get into the Zoom classrooms. Those will be sent via the teacher, because each teacher will set up their Zoom classrooms if they're using Zoom. Every teacher is accessible through every teacher email is accessible through the GGUSD website. If you'd like to email your teacher, you can email your teacher there. If you were not able to get your materials, if you were not able to come to the school to pick up your materials, there were some days that schools had pickups, then you can contact your school and find out when the next pickup day will be, or when the office is available, and they can come and schedule something for you. Those pickup days are generally for our younger students who are looking for packets and maybe devices or textbooks that they wanted to get. But contact your school site and they can arrange for another pickup day or a time when it's available that you can come and pick them up. I believe the rest of the questions we would have to answer via the resources that we provide and tutorials that we're going to provide. With that being said, I'd like to open it up to any of our leadership team if they would like to say a few words in closing. Teresa, would you like to say a few words?
I will, Anne. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all of our families and our students here with us. I do apologize I couldn't be there throughout the whole time. I'm actually sitting in my car in line, driving my 9th grader over through registration. So again, thank you all to our families and our students for attending. I'd like us all to give a big round of applause to our wonderful TOSA team, as well as our translators for hosting today's meeting.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar if there are no lingering questions, but we will work on these resources to get those materials up for you.
Yay, great job.